What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Phaithful Phanatics Show. I'm one half of your host this evening, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Guys, as always, we are streaming to you live here on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube and Twitter account. So if you guys are new to the channel, do us a favor, do yourself a favor. Make sure to check us out on X at DSM_Media. Hit that follow button, and then check out the link tree in our bio. It will take you to every single social media platform we are available on. Make sure specifically to check out the YouTube channel. It's right here. Smash that subscribe button. It is the best and only spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with us for each and every live stream. We are just a few days away from Super Bowl 59. Eagles, Chiefs rematch from 2 years ago. We're going to get into the top 5 most important Eagles outside of our quarterback and running back. Put Jalen Hurts, put Saquon Barkley in a box, lock it up, push it aside. Give us your top 5, your next 5 most important birds for them to come away with a victory this Sunday. My man, happy Thursday. Not Friday yet. Happy Thursday. And what is going on?
Happy Thursday. It weirdly feels like a Friday. I guess it's because we're doing the show, but like I just went on like a road trip in the middle of the week for work too. So like I got back last night. So it feels like Friday today for some reason for me. It feels like the last day of the week. Like it's time to get to the weekend and fucking relax before we go into this nervous breakdown called the NFL Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles playing on Sunday. So as confident as I am in this team, as excited as I am in this football team, you're always going to be nervous when you're playing in such a big ass stage. So I'm ready to get to the game, man. But do want to wish you a happy birthday. I know it's not today. I believe it is tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Tomorrow's the official birthday. So happy birthday to Dill. Go out and have some drinks. That's why we're doing the show tonight. Get this shit out the way so you can go and party it up.
For your boy and for everybody in the area.
It's going to be a party all weekend at this rate, bro. Like, that's what I'm excited about, man. But, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this today because we're going to talk about legacies. We're going to talk about some of the other players that are important to this round. We know how important Jalen and Saquon are. I'm just excited to continue to talk about these birds that are going to the Super Bowl, bro. But happy Thursday, guys. Happy Thursday out there.
And we've had, a couple days now of media week, which obviously drags along, and we find it corny. And like you said, we just want to get to the game. I remember Alshon back in 2017. Let's just fly in on Friday. All this other stuff is pointless. It feels nice to be a part of it. Again, you know what I mean? It's seeing some of the clips, seeing some of the jokes. A lot of Eagles fans down there in New Orleans. It'll be a good time. I love the comments from D-Rab, guys. If you're seeing them, join him in the comment section. Drop your top 5 most important players outside of Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. D-Rab, I got to be honest with you, bro. We have a lot in common. I don't know what Scotty's list looks like. We'll get to your comments and pull them up one by one, but we got quite a few of those 5 or 6 you've listed in common with me, brother. So should we get right into it and we'll see where the conversation takes us?
Well, I did just want to throw out there the situation with these defensive linemen. Obviously, there's a flu-like situation going around this defense right now. But I did see something encouraging. It's really irrelevant, but it was something like Chris Jones mentioned that he was sick, or that the Kansas City line was sick in a previous Super Bowl that they won. Apparently, Timmy Jernigan in the Super Bowl that we won in 2017. Apparently, he was sick, and there was a little sickness going around. It's a theme. It's a theme for winners. It's a flu game type of shit
that comes with winning, man.
We got to find the positive in it.
Yeah, I got some numbers.
They're going to give it a go
as well, bro. I got some numbers. It's more from a betting perspective, but they play out very nicely historically over the last decade, 2 decades for our Eagles. So I'll throw those out there later on in the show for you. But with that said, let's start by getting into this list, right? Because I think we can all agree the quarterback, very important, touches the ball every play, going to be probably the most important. And then when you have a guy that ran for 2K this year and is arguably the MVP of the National Football League, I think it's very obvious that he is going to be on both of our lists as well. 1 and 2 punch right there. Starting off at I'll start at number 1, man. I'll tell you the most important because you brought up the illness. Number one for me is Jalen Carter, and illness aside, right? Like it's extra important because we need that game
fair.
record to be ready to go at least as close to 100% as he can be. But Jalen Carter is so important to what this team can do up front and what's needed on Sunday. If you go back to 2022, man, I know that defensive line had 73 sacks that year. Historically great. The numbers were eye-popping. We had Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh.
Yeah.
And an elderly Fletcher Cox at that point, rushing Patrick Mahomes from the interior. That's where I think you can try to disrupt Patrick and this Chiefs offense for a few different reasons, right? If you can win one-on-one, even if you can beat those double teams, right, which Jalen Carter does quite often, if you can win off the jump, it's going to disrupt that timing. It's a different type of pressure, right, than compared to if you're one of those edge rushers that gets behind him, he climbs the pocket, you take a bad angle, he escapes. You get that immediate interior pressure right off the rip that gets into Patrick's face by the time he turns around and gets back to his drop. That is humongous. And Jalen Carter has proven time and time again, especially on this postseason run, that he can wreck games. He is on the other side of the ball with arguably the greatest defensive tackle, Chris Jones, Jalen Carter, who's better in the game right now.
Yeah.
We'll see. So we need him to be healthy, but he is also just uberly important to what this defensive line wants to do.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think something we can do with this list, man, as I'm listening to you, I don't have Jalen Carter number one, but I'll just go ahead and tell you where I have him. If you name one, let's just say where it's at. And that way we can go ahead and get into it. We don't have to go back and forth in case we do have multiple the same. So I actually have Jalen Carter at number 2. I do tend to agree with a lot of what you said. And I think when you look at my number 1, it's just the other side of the trenches. So you're looking at the trenches at the beginning of this team. And that's where it always starts with the Philadelphia Eagles. But I do agree with you. When you look at Jalen Carter on that defense, when you look for a guy that's going to make a play that matters in the game, I'm looking to Jalen Carter first on that defensive unit, whether it's taking on a double team, like you said, pause, whether it's taking on a double team, like you said, and opening up, space for other guys to get through to Patrick Mahomes, or if he's making the play himself. He's going to be critical to the run defense. He's obviously critical towards getting after Patrick Mahomes. And he's just he's a havoc causer, right? He's a game wrecker. Like, that's what he does. And I do think when you think about previous Super Bowl, the last Super Bowl we played the Chiefs in, and the close game that we had with the Chiefs last year, if it does come down to one possession, if it comes down to Patrick Mahomes having the ball in his hands, it's going to be up to Jalen Carter to go out there and make a play, whether that's a strip sack, whether that's taking on a double team, forcing all the attention to come on to him, and it opens up a BG or a Nolan Smith. He is critical to this defense, especially late in games like we saw against the Rams, man.
Yeah, so, it's a great point, because I think when we lost Hassan Reddick, disgruntled Hassan Reddick, I think we kind of thought that we lost that game wrecker, right? Like, we lost that guy that has the ability up front to take over. I always go back to that Jacksonville game back in 2022 where Hassan had like 2.5 sacks. He forced a fumble. He recovered a fumble, like just completely and utterly could take over a game on any given Sunday. And when he moved on, when he didn't want to be here anymore, it kind of felt like, okay, well, who's the next guy? And when you think of interior defensive linemen, it's not often that they come around and they're dominant in that factor, man. Right? Like, you have a guy like Aaron Donald. You have my mind takes me to a Warren Sapp. Right? It was was Jerome Brown a DT next to Reggie White, or was he on the opposite end of Reggie White? Regardless,
I want to say DT. I want to say DT.
That's where my mind goes, but I could be wrong, and I don't want to,
disrespect the Mean Green era, right? That's a little before I can remember in my time.
And then you have a guy like Chris Jones. But my point is, when you think of defensive tackles, you might think more of a Jordan Davis. You might think more of a Vita Vea. You might think more of a, Haloti Nada. Just bigger guys that fill up the run-stopping game and, might have 2-3 sacks on the season. No, Jalen Carter is a legitimate game wrecker up the middle. And I just think that type of pressure in Patrick Mahomes' face to disrupt the timing is different than a Hassan Reddick or a Nolan Smith or someone off the edge that has to catch up to Patrick. Maybe they get behind him and he climbs and throws one downfield. That immediate boom right in your mitt is different. So, the game record is going to be a huge factor on Sunday, dude.
And to Abe's point as well here, when you look at the offensive line and the way they have guys shifting around, that's another thing. If Jalen Carter comes out at the start of this game, starts wreaking havoc from the beginning, what do the Chiefs have to do? What lengths do they have to go to help out with him, right? And to guard against him getting pressure on Mahomes and be in that game record. And so that's like the key in my mind why I think Jalen Carter is so high on this list. If you want to go out there and dominate the Chiefs, right? Like we have dominated most of the competition that we played this year. It starts with the middle of that defensive line and controlling this game and not allowing them to score 20, 25 plus points in this game. Don't allow it to get to a shootout. And we can win by a comfortable margin. It is possible. It's not impossible for this unit to win by a comfortable margin. I think Jalen Carter is a huge piece of that. To your point, to Abe's point here. And another thing with Jalen, I love the dude. Like he's just such a great player. Like we're loving on him right now. But just imagine if he can wreak havoc in this game against this team and this quarterback. In his second season. Where does it go next?
The ascension, right, correct. And when you have guys like
get chills thinking about it, man. Honestly,
when you have guys like Aaron Donald, right?
Yeah,
coming out and saying who's got next, he's next, he's got next. That tells you all you kind of need to know, right? So when they stamp him, obviously, it's a player-friendly league now, and he's not going to disrespect anybody. But having Jalen Carter take the ascension is huge.
Speaking to that, just a side note of the list. I don't mean to take attention from it, but Chris Jones and Patrick Mahomes, they said some very damning things about Jalen Hurts over the last day or so. Just want to throw that out there. The guys that actually step on the field, some of the greatest players in NFL history, they do think Jalen Hurts is elite. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, it's funny, right? And Tom Brady has said, complimentary things. Peyton Manning, Eli Manning have said complimentary things. But, Dan Orlovsky and Chase Daniel and, Emmanuel Acho or James Jones have had some things to say.
Backup QB Central,
right? Don't mind me if I don't really give too much attention to what you guys decide to put out there. But nonetheless, man, you can go next for your next guy. And
all right, bet. I'll give you my number one. Jalen Carter was my number two. He was your number one. My number one is on the opposite end. It's going to be Cam Jurgens, man. Part of it, similar to Jalen Carter for you, the injury concerns, right? His back, whatever's going on there. Obviously, he's had close to 2 weeks once we get to Sunday to rest. He obviously had to come into that game against the Commanders to relieve Landon Dickerson. So really it goes across the whole offensive line if we're being completely honest and transparent here. But I go with Cam Jurgens for a couple different reasons. He is the Jason Kelce replacement. Like we go out here and get this job done with Cam Jurgens, something that we couldn't get done with Jason Kelce. That's a big notch in his belt, in my opinion. Chris Jones. We talk about wreaking havoc on our defensive line. Chris Jones, he does that on the opposite end. And quite honestly, the interior of their defensive line is pretty damn good. They put up some pretty good numbers in the pass rush game. So I think that's going to be important. The calls at the line, right? Protecting Jalen, all of that included as well. But I do think I point to him because he is a Jason Kelce replacement. He is the Hall of Famer replacement. He is the guy in the middle of that unit, of that unit that is so important. So I did go with Cam Jurgens because this is a big prove-it spot for him, man. If Spags is bringing pressure, it's going to be on him and Jalen communicating to that offensive line, telling guys where to pick up blocks and who to pick up. So I do think Cam Jurgens, I think you could alternate both of these guys. And once again, I think you could say pretty much anybody on that offensive line, quite honestly. Outside of maybe Mekhi Becton, but that's the thing with these lists. Is Mekhi Becton the most important because he's not the best offensive lineman?
Yeah.
Or is the best offensive lineman the most important in Lane Johnson, right? So that's the other side of the combo as well. What were you laughing at?
I'm not laughing at your point.
I'm curious.
I'm laughing because I kind of cheated on the list. I didn't take the whole offensive line.
You picked like two guys, or how many? How many did you pick? 3. Okay, it's fair.
I picked the interior, and you got to Beck. You're like, I don't know, but to be honest, it starts with Cam, right? It starts with the guy up front, handling everything. But I have bunched Mekhi Becton, Landon Dickerson, and Cam Jurgens together. You have Cam and Landon both banged up, like we were talking about. So that's going to play a huge factor. But the reason I chose the interior of the line, I get it's kind of cheating, I know. It's going against that guy. Number 1 on my list was our defensive tackle, a guy that can wreck a game. And they got Creed Humphrey, and they have a stellar offensive line. It's not this Eagles offensive line, but you cannot allow that guy to get comfortable. And maybe that comes later on in the game because maybe, Karlaftis and whoever else, makes a play or two. But for me, I'm comfortable in the entire line. Yeah. But I'm confident in Lane or Jordan handling the edge.
I feel that. Yeah.
You cannot make someone else beat you is what I'm trying to get at. And so for the middle of this line, you have Cam banged up, you have Landon banged up, you have Mekhi, who's been phenomenal all year long, but new position, biggest game of his career, never been on the stage against Chris Jones. Yeah. And the reason I went with all 3 is I think they're going to move Chris Jones all the way around. So I didn't want to single out, Landon Dickerson because Chris Jones is going to line up between him and Cam over and over again. I think they're going to bounce him around. I think you might see him on the edge here and there, but the interior of this line is so important, and it's so important to the rushing attack as well, man. So
that's a
I was laughing because I kind of cheated your answer, but
it's fair. To be clear, I don't have any other offensive linemen on the list, so it's fair. That's what I did put in parentheses. You could say the entire offensive line, so certainly you could say the interior. So was that your number 2?
That was my number. Yes, my number 2.
Okay.
Yep.
So
because I think that's just how important the trenches are, and I think it's where this Eagles team has built its identity. So it's going to have to play the factor in Sunday's game.
Fair enough. You can go number 3 first.
Number 3. I started this conversation. Well, actually, Connor started this conversation yesterday when I brought up Travis Kelce. And, you have the Houston game where Kelce was huge, but in the AFC Championship game, he was almost a non-factor. We don't quite know what to expect, but you have to be prepared for the best to be thrown at you on Sunday afternoon. Trying to go back to D-Rab's comment here. This was what was brought up, and I'm going to go with Zach Baun. I think Zach Baun's going to have a lot of the responsibility over the middle of the field. I think he's going to have a lot of action with Travis Kelce. I brought up the fact of Cooper DeJean potentially getting some looks. Not that it won't happen, but just the fact that, he's smaller, not smaller, but the type of play. Go ahead.
Who do you trust the most out of Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, and Zach Baun? Like, who do you trust the most?
Well,
and the only reason I'm not
trying to be an asshole.
I trust Baun. I trust Baun the most.
Yeah,
that's the only reason I asked.
I do as well. The only thing I was going to say is because I love Coop so much.
Yeah, I do too.
Reed's number 3. Like to be fair, like Reed's down here on that list.
Yeah,
and then we move up, and it's like I love Cooper, but I trust Zach more. To Abe's point, brother, think about what I'm about to say to you. Take this back a year ago today. Zach Baun has the opportunity to wrap up a DPOY year by making plays against the greatest tight end of all time in the Super Bowl and bringing a suit. Like, that sentence is so utterly ridiculous a year ago, 11 months ago. And that's how important he is to this game, because I think he's athletic and big enough to stay with Kelsey a little bit, but also just in that zone or whatever, just the middle of the field, making plays. Don't be surprised if he punches one out on somebody as
I
well,
know,
man. In the
man.
middle of the field. So Zach Bond, to me, has so much responsibility. N'Kobe's out. Oren Burks is a guy you can look at that you say, I just don't want to hear your name called. But that's even more responsibility for Zach Bond to have to be a playmaker in this one. The Eagles have forced 3+ turnovers every game of the playoffs so far. He's been a huge responsibility as to why. You have to try to win the turnover battle and give your offense an advantage in this game, and he's the perfect candidate to do it.
Yeah, I completely agree. He came in number 4 on my list, so just one off from your list as well there. For all the reasons that you mentioned, man, he's the playmaker in the middle. He's the leader in the middle. When it comes to Travis Kelce, he is the guy that I trust the most to stick with him. We saw him early on in the season, throughout the season, sticking with different guys where it almost surprised you when he would be there. The big thing for him is going to be getting that head turned around, right? And knowing where the ball is at, because they will throw them flags for the Chiefs, as we know. But I trust him to go out there and do so. The other thing you mentioned, the turnovers, he's been key to that throughout this season, but specifically in the postseason, he's had a turnover in each of these games. He had a fumble recovery against the Rams. He had an interception against the Packers. He had a fumble force and a fumble recovery against the Commanders. So he gets in there, he makes plays. He gets the ball out.
Bro.
Zach Bond, man, a monster. Who is he? Ray Lewis? Like, what the fuck? Like, I feel you. I don't
all
get
this
it,
talk
man.
in Sixers land. Dude, right now we're opening up. We're opening up freeways for money to try to re-sign Gershon Yabusele this offseason. If you think he's getting a bag, Zach Bond's going to get a bag in NFL terms.
Dude makes plays.
I hope he's back, dude.
He makes plays, man, to your point. And I do. I think he will. He's what would you make him? Like priority number 1?
Yeah.
He has to be, man.
1,000%, dude. And it's even
in the
more
middle
because I feel like we keep losing the linebackers that we value after a season, right?
Yeah,
like
agree.
At the time, I remember how I loved Jordan Hicks, dude. At the time, we lost Jordan Hicks, right? TJ Edwards, Super Bowl year, stellar. Gets a bag in Chicago. Kaiser White gets a bag with Gannon. I feel like we just continue to lose the linebackers we like, and it's rare that we hit at that position. And it looks like we have 2 in N'Kobe and him. After this game and after the celebration, hopefully, knock on wood, your first priority if you're Hallie Roseman is getting Zach Bond in the room and saying, what do you want and how can we bring you back?
Because to your point, TJ Edwards, Jordan Hicks, we did like them. Kaiser White as well. Zach Bond has been better.
Zach Bond's on another fucking stretch.
He's on another level, and I'm willing to pay the price to see if it will be consistent year to year because it was that good this year. But yeah, he's the playmaker in the middle, man. It's the Kelsey coverage, helping Oren Burks. I think that's another big thing, just getting him in the right spot. He almost has double responsibility. You don't want it to be that way, but that's your job as a leader.
That's how important he is.
Yeah. So I went with Zach Bond at number 4. My number 3 is a guy on offense. He's a playmaker, but it's not the ones. He's not the one that might come to your mind first, man. It's Dallas Goedert, though.
Okay.
And part of it is the success he's had in the postseason and how well he has clicked with Jalen when they get that pass game going. The blocking in the run game, you're not this successful unless your tight ends are committed to blocking downfield, which we see Goddard get out there and do. We've seen him get yardage after the catch. He's physical. He bullies guys. That's going to be huge in this game. The other thing, man, the last time that we played them in the Super Bowl had a fucking day. He is that security blanket for Jalen Hurts
so many
in these situations, man.
In that game, dude.
And Spags is going to bring the pressure, so he's going to be key in check down situations, being there and being available and making plays after the catch, man, which he's been great with throughout this postseason. So I just think as you start to think about everything that Goddard is really involved in with this offense, he's kind of important for me. And I think it's one of those situations. Like, I could go AJ for sure, because you could say similar things, quite honestly. I could go Smitty. He's had success against the Chiefs as well. But but it's almost like I count on those guys, if that makes sense.
True.
More than him, but
damn, you're diminishing my next point.
No, it's a what is it? A push pull situation.
Yeah. No, I do agree with you. And again, if you watch the quick interview with Connor yesterday, that's where he went as well. Outside of Saquon, was to Dallas. The Chiefs are vulnerable against tight ends as well. In the divisional round, Dalton Schultz had a game. In the regular season, he had a game. The Chiefs, I think the numbers I threw out to you, was it on Monday or last Friday show, was essentially the Chiefs defense is good.
Yeah.
But they struggle in the red zone and they struggle to get off the field on third downs. And that's two areas where Dallas Goedert could play a huge factor and has played a huge factor the last time these guys met in the biggest moment in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So I love the pick. It's almost like expected as well now that he has to play a role. I think in previous years, even in this year, he's injury plagued and it's annoying, quite frankly. Yeah. But he's crucial to what this team does, man. And you can just tell the difference in how this offense operates. There is zero usage of the middle of the field when Dallas Goedert is unavailable.
Yeah,
there's not even an attempt to use the middle of the field.
Yeah,
when he's around, I feel like a lot of people get to use the middle of the field.
Yeah,
you'll get AJ on a quick hitter, you'll get Smitty on a quick hitter, you'll get a random wide receiver on a hitter. It doesn't matter. So he's very critical to what this team wants to do.
Doesn't it feel like anytime there's a successful screen, it's Dallas Goedert, right?
Yeah,
like
it's
we
him.
do him the Smitty,
I love Smitty, bro. I love Smitty. Take that Smitty wide receiver screen, crumple it up, and throw it out. It does not need to make the travel to New Orleans.
I don't want no dots and screens.
Smith screen at the line of scrimmage does not need to occur. The Goedert one, throw a slip screen into Saquon if you want to.
Yeah.
Hell, I'd be okay with a screen to AJ.
Me too. I was just about to say
Smith is like the last thing on my mind, right? So
because Smitty's always getting rocked, man.
Wrecked.
He's always getting rocked out there.
Never had the numbers advantage out on the boundary. There's not enough blockers, and then he is just not physical enough. And Smitty's fast. Smitty's not fast or dynamic enough to make 2 or 3 guys miss at the line of scrimmage and pick up 25 yards. You know what I mean?
With all due respect.
Not enough with Smitty. Just throw that the fuck out. And also, don't even think about bringing Britton Covey into the game to run one of those as well. Because we used to do that in the beginning of the season.
Let me ask you one thing about that.
Yes, sir.
Would you rather Britton Covey be out there to return punts? Just saying, as great as Coop has been, that ball has clumped off of his hands a couple times on them punt returns, man.
So 2 things. Even though, because to me, I just want to get the ball back. Obviously, I know that sounds stupid. You're looking to create an advantage and explosive play, and to just say, you know what, we'll just take it wherever it lies.
And Coop is probably better for the explosive play.
Yes, but 2 reasons. Like you said, he's a rookie in this moment. Not that Britton Covey has fucking tons and tons, but he's played in this moment before. The ball's bobbled a bit. And I don't need Cooper DeJean getting hurt on a punt return in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's a big one, man. That's actually a great point.
I don't. Could you imagine end of the first quarter, he gets an ankle rolled up on or something happens and he's knocked out of the rest of the Super Bowl? Yeah. Nah, I'm good. Shipley I like on the kick returns as well. I don't know what he's like in the punt game. I don't know how he fields those, if they don't trust him, whatever. I love Shipley on the kick returns though. So I like that, D-Rab. But
agree with that.
My number 4, man. It's funny. I was joking, you diminished it. It is expected. But the reason I'm throwing this guy in there is because this should be a guy that we grouped up in that box with Saquon and Jalen and said, besides them, because that's so obvious, right?
I feel that.
But because of how great Saquon Barkley was this year, it's not looked at in that light anymore right now.
I feel that.
If I had the book, I'd pull it out right now. It's A.J. Brown. And the reason I pick A.J. Brown, man, is I'm not talking about 5 receptions for 87 yards and maybe even a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And just his mere presence opens up so much out there for everybody else.
Yeah.
The reason I have A.J. Brown on this list is the ability to be the best football player on the field.
Yeah.
Because that's been forgotten about. When you have 2-6 doing the things he's doing, that's forgotten about. That this dude is arguably a top 4, top 5 wide receiver in the game. A guy that can quite literally go for $170. Take the top off the defense, hit you over the middle over and over on slants. Whatever he wants to do. Had a big 50-yard touchdown 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. Had a great game against Washington this past week. The reason I have him on there is because, yes, he's important in every other area. He has the ability to be the best football player, even next to 26 on any given Sunday. And it's kind of forgotten about because 26 was so fucking good this year.
Yeah.
You get a AJ Brown showing on Sunday, brother. Like, you get one of those games where him and Jalen are just dialed in and there's no one covering this man.
Yeah.
That's a different level.
Yeah.
So that's why he's important to me in this game.
I feel that's a very great explanation. I will take that. I just wanted to pull up Shane Half's tweet just to, I believe this supports your theory here. Let's just read it.
Go against everything I just said.
Let's just read it and throw it out there, man. The Chiefs have played press coverage on 47.3% of snaps this postseason, allowing a 46.7% catch rate and 5.2 yards per target when pressing versus a 71.4% catch rate and 7.2 yards per target when in off coverage. Against press coverage this season, A.J. Brown had the highest target share and yards per route run amongst receivers with at least 100 such routes. So, according to Shane Half, NFL, his tweet right there, it points to A.J. Brown. And I think another great point that kind of coincides with that is the fact that, yes, Goddard is kind of looked at as this like underlying key. Yeah. Like, I think he is a very popular one right now. It's already been talked about how much success Smitty has had against the Chiefs.
Yeah, in like the last
3 meetings that they've matched up, the Super Bowl and then the game last year. And well, what would be the other? I don't know. I believe it's the last 3 games.
It is. I just can't remember. You are right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw the stat. It said the last 3 games. Nonetheless, he's had success against the Chiefs. Had a great Super Bowl performance. Had a great performance in that matchup last season. So I think a lot of the attention has gone away from A.J. Brown, to your point. And all that does is just open up the opportunity for an explosion to happen, which we damn sure know A.J. Brown is capable. And you talk about, I said it about Jalen Carter and like opening things up and blowing this game open, right? Because once again, man, we talked about it earlier this week on Monday. This Eagles team is more talented. They are the better overall football team coming into this game. There's a few intangible outliers, such as Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, officiating, experience, certain things like that have to be factored in, of course. But the Eagles have the better football team. If you want to go out here and win this game comfortably, if you want to win by 2 possessions so you don't have to worry about Patrick Mahomes stealing your dreams away from you at the end of the game, I think A.J. Brown having an explosive output in this game is one of those keys to that, because it can't just be Saquon in this game.
No.
Saquon, I do believe, is going to have – I think people are sleeping on what he really will do or what he's capable of, but I don't think that's it. I don't think that's going to be enough. It'll take A.J. taking the top off the defense to open it up for Saquon.
I know we have Sunday to talk about this as well.
Yeah.
Are the Chiefs getting too much fucking credit or too much like optimism?
Like the aura?
For what they are going to do against this Eagles rushing attack and Saquon Barkley. Like, they're getting a lot of, like, I've seen a lot of clips from players now, media members talking just about how, no one's run the ball on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl successfully. Just with no context. In other Super Bowls, teams have not run the ball well against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You're excluding, you're not going to bring up what he and this line has done this year. It's crazy. So I feel like they're getting so much credit and positive publicity defensively about what they can do. And it's like it should be a concern. Yeah.
Why is it not a concern?
Yeah,
it's as if we should be
man,
concerned.
Yeah, because Scotty, I want to know, man. Like, no one else has done it. And yeah, the Chiefs' run defense is pretty good. It's a lot better than their passing defense. I'll give them that. We've ran the ball against Pittsburgh, against Baltimore, against everyone that's been thrown our way this year. So it's funny. I'll say that. And the only reason I brought that up is because I do agree with you. It is going to take more than just Saquon to win this game against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
Yeah.
But I'm feeling like a $140, like a $150.
Yeah.
And at least, and a tutty or two for sure. I am, dude.
I feel you. I do. I just think Saquon, since we're talking about him, it wasn't supposed to be about him, but since we're talking about Saquon, we've seen it all season, man. He is the guy in the big games. Like, the reason that AJ, to your point, has kind of fallen out of that light is because Saquon has pushed himself up in it, even to the point of past Hurts.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he is the guy in the big game. We cannot forget that, man. All it takes is one snap for him to get to the house.
No, if we're talking about this season, right, because you're saying big game, and in the playoffs so far for the Eagles, yes, he's been the guy. There's a guy across the sideline in the biggest game that just continues to find ways to win.
Absolutely.
But if we're talking about this season in particular, 26 is the best football player on the planet, and he is the best football player in this game. Like, if you want to, best football player on the planet this year was Lamar Jackson. Is Lamar Jackson playing in this game?
Right.
No. Is Josh Allen playing in this game? No. Like, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes on this stage. But if you're taking this year just for what it is, the Eagles have the best football player on the field.
Yeah.
Good luck. That's like, it's not supposed to be about him today.
And then after Mahomes, where does the rest of the list go? Like, we discussed it for sure. And we're going to get into it more on Sunday one more time for the big game. But I'll give you my number 5, man, because number 4 was Zach Bond, the same as you. Number 5, there was plenty of guys I could have thrown up here, but I went with another guy on the defensive line, man, because I think it's where one of my bigger concerns are. I'll tell you this. My number 1 concern is Reed Blankenship on defense.
Okay.
Just because of Travis Kelce and the middle of the field, and even Noah Gray, right? Or D-Hop in the middle of the field. Like, it's just annoying. And we've seen Reed. We saw him get tore up last week 2 weeks ago by Zach Ertz. Like a wash. Maybe Zach Ertz isn't washed. Maybe let me not go down that tunnel, but whatever. Zach Ertz past his prime comes out here, goes 11 for over 100 on Reed Blankenship, mostly covering him. I went away from that though, because the other concern for me is Mahomes and extending plays and having opportunities to get him on the ground and not getting it done, and what that turns into as a result. And the guy I'm going to, man, is Nolan Smith. Another guy that is sick, right? He's got the same thing Jalen Carter's got going on. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. The 4 sacks in this postseason, man. That speaks for itself. Don't disappear now. Go out there and get it done in the biggest game of the year. I think he has. I watched them get Jaden Daniels to the ground 2 weeks ago. Exactly.
And I heard about, like, Jaden. If we're talking elusive, Jaden Daniels is far more elusive and athletic than Patrick Mahomes is.
Yeah.
So,
setting the edge, not allowing Mahomes to get out there and make those plays is the other side of it. You don't even have to bring him down. So that's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. On the outside, I feel like most of my confidence is in Nolan Smith to go out there and make a game-changing play. I know we're going to get BG back. I know Josh Sweat, there's been talk about him playing for his next contract in this game. He really wants to show out. But Nolan Smith, he's just been that consistent force in this postseason. And sometimes guys are just hot. during a stretch, right? And he's that guy that's hot right now for me on the edge of that
Yep.
defensive line. So yeah, I went with Nolan Smith, but there's quite a few angles you can go. I'm
I love it,
interested
man.
to see where you go here.
I think it's interesting that you brought up Reed, because Reed's not my number 5. If we're being completely honest, there's 2 guys on the defensive side of the football, probably just 2 guys in the entire game for the Eagles, that I just don't want to hear their names. That's Reed Blankenship and Oren Burks.
Yeah. Okay.
As long as I don't hear your names being called on the broadcast, you're fine.
Yeah.
The guy I'm going with is his running mate, and that's C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
I love it. I love it.
It's a security blanket for me on Zach Bond, because he's like, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is going to be that next guy that's going to have some responsibility getting downhill. And maybe it's not even covering Travis Kelce, but maybe it's getting downhill quick enough and getting to a ball. Maybe it's blowing up a 3rd or 4th down run, getting in a hole, maybe just making tackles. It's a security blanket for the middle of the field for making those stops, which he's done in the postseason so far. You go back to the beginning of the year and you have all the, miscommunications on the back end, and he's falling and they're missing tackles, and it's embarrassing. He was here 2 years ago. He's one of the few guys on defense that was here 2 years ago. Played against this quarterback, played against this play caller.
Yeah.
He's so important in this game, man. And it's not because, I think he's going to make a big play. I think he's going to have a huge pick. No. Get downhill, wrap up, might have some responsibility on Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Big 3rd and 2 type of stop blowing up in the backfield for a loss of 1. Whatever it is, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is going to have to make plays for this team in the secondary.
Yeah, I do agree, man. And the CGJ plays, they're game-changing plays when he makes them, because he does bring that energy along with it. He talks shit along with it. He's going to be out there wearing his heart on his sleeve. And he is one of the leaders on this defense, man. And I think we covered.
Keep your helmet on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we covered just about every leader on the defense. I guess not. We didn't talk about Darius Slade. We didn't talk about Quinyon. Nope. There's obviously some other studs on this defense. I think with them, it's just more, you're more intimidated by the interior of the Chiefs passing game, right? The Travis Kelce, the Noah Grays. I mentioned D-Hop earlier. Even bringing Hollywood in as a slot receiver rather than having him on the outside, where I trust Slay and Quinyon. That middle of the field is going to be so important defensively, man. So I am excited for it. But just to throw something out there about Reed, just so we're not completely shitting on him, because it's
I don't want to.
Not the worst, but it just always seems to be him on the other side of like a tight end dominating, right? He is always in the right place at the right time when it comes to getting like a crucial turnover, end of games. He makes it happen somehow, whether it's just being lucky or whatever the case may be. But these guys are going into this game with a lot of confidence, man. Talking about CGJ and Reed Blankenship. Yep. There was some talk about them they think they're the best safety combo in the NFL. Well, go out there and prove it. This is a perfect opportunity to go out there and prove it if you believe that.
It's funny because you mentioned how, we didn't mention, Quinyon or Slay, and I don't Quinyon more so than big play Slay, but they're like, how do I say this? Nah, I don't want to say that because, we did talk about Jalen and Nolan and Zach Bond, who have been huge. So I was going to say they're kind of like the Jalen and Saquon part of the defense, but I think it's just expected for me. Like, I'm so confident in our corners that I'm not super worried about getting beat on the outside by a D-Hop or Juju or Xavier Worthy. So it's that. I see Brian. I don't know who he's talking about, but like I don't know. Here's what I want to know. Here's what I want to know. Like, again, because we got through our 5, so now I can take a little bit of time to look at the comments.
Yeah.
Brian, they're 3 days away from playing in the Super Bowl, and you're somehow only commenting negative things. You're only you're making fun of Oren Burks. Now Jalen had an out-of-body game. It's not going to happen 2 times in a row. Like, your favorite team, supposedly. What the fuck are you talking? No one said spy Mahomes with Oren Burks. Are you listening?
Joe Quinn did suggest letting CGJ play most of the coverage on Travis Kelce, like follow him around, and then having Oren Burks just spy, not have any coverage responsibilities.
No, I thought he meant like I thought he was.
No.
I thought he meant like I said it.
He was talking to Joe Quinn,
but like you don't need to spy, Pat. You don't really need to keep a spy on Patrick like you do with a Lamar or with a Jaden Daniels like that. But Brian, I just want to know, man. I'm going to ask you one last time, and I'll take your word for it. I'll try to take your word for it. Just come clean now. Are you an Eagles fan? Are you truly? Like, are you? Because I don't know what this team needs to prove to you, brother. They've won 15 of their last 16 games. They're in the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years. That quarterback that you continuously put down. Oh, start Tanner fucking McKee. Get the fuck out of here. I just don't know what you need to see. Like, win or lose, I still don't need to see.
What up, 843?
Yeah, I get it. You're not a huge Jalen fan. Like, let me ask you a question, though, Brian. Like, no, you're good. But like, let me ask you a question. If they win the Super Bowl, you gonna shut up about it? You happy? Are you done? But it's not even just the Jalen talk. Like, it's you're talking about the defense as if the defense is giving you something to worry about. Like, just like D-Rap said, man, just enjoy the fucking moment. God.
We don't think that there's an Oren Burks level player on the Chiefs defense somewhere.
All right, like, are they just all superstars?
All studs over all pros.
Yeah, that 18th ranked passing defense. Are they just loaded with studs over there? Like, yeah, there was an injury. We have a guy that we don't necessarily love on the field in the Super Bowl. I get it. You're not going to have 11 dudes that are awesome.
I feel what he's saying in this.
But that was your only comment.
The fact that we have went through a list of most important Eagles, talking about the defensive line, the offensive line, and there was no Brian in the comments.
Yeah.
But as soon as we go down into like a little negative hole of Reed Blankenship and Oren Burks, and like I get both sides here, but I think he's trying to gaslight us right now.
Right. And then here, like, let's put a safety in that hasn't played all year for this guy. How about Brian? How about Oren Burks has made more plays than Sidney Brown has in the last 2 years combined, and he's only been on the team for a cup of coffee this year. So, yeah, my whole point of that little spiel was, if you would have been commenting along and you were positive, and then you thought one of us said something too much about Oren Burks and you said something negative, that's fair. But you're silent, and then you're negative. They're in the Super Bowl. Be happy.
Yeah. Let's have some fun this weekend. Let's go.
Fuck.
That being said, man, you brought up Jalen. Obviously, his legacy is on the line, right? It's on the line this weekend, going into his second Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes. His legacy with the Eagles, his legacy as an NFL elite quarterback, it's all on the line because, in my opinion, if he wins the Super Bowl, you can silence a lot of that criticism. There's not much you can say about a guy that goes to the Super Bowl two out of the last 3 Super Bowls and wins one. There's not much you can say about him.
There is nothing you can say about it.
He wins at every level.
Unless he wins this Super Bowl and then comes out next year and looks like Chase Daniel or Dan Orlovsky for the rest of his career, then there's nothing else you can say about him. It's not just one Super Bowl. Like, that's the other, like, people go, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl, and they had, the Ravens, and crippled Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl, and blah, 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 blah. This is his second in 3 years. In the first one, he outplayed Patrick Mahomes. Even if he only throws for 145 yards and a win this time, he's had 2 Super Bowl appearances in 4 years total, 4 playoff appearances in 4 years, and a Super Bowl ring. There's not a goddamn thing you can say about him. If he wins the Super Bowl, he's the best Eagles quarterback of all time.
Yeah.
You know what, man? Because the only thing right now that you can give Randall or you can give Mac 5 over him is
Like
that he doesn't have hardware like them.
Right.
If he wins it, he's the greatest quarterback in Eagles history already. Nick Sirianni is the greatest head coach in Eagles history. Lamar Jackson don't have a ring. Josh Allen don't have a ring. In fact, neither of them even been in the fucking game yet.
Yeah. Can't beat
Joe Burrow's been in the game one time, doesn't have a ring.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert never even sniffed the championship game, doesn't have a ring. So all these guys you love to talk about.
Yeah.
But if he wins in 3 days, he'll have 2 appearances and a ring in 3 years. I don't want to hear a word about him ever again in a negative light.
And I want to point this out because I agree with this comment. It won't even be the same as the last Super Bowl that we lost, where we could come out of it saying, but Jalen, he played like better than Mahomes in this game. Even if he plays better than Mahomes and they lose this game, there's none of that coming out of this game.
No.
Promise you that.
You got to get it done. You have to
get it done. You have to get it done by any means. You have Saquon Barkley. You have AJ. You have Goddard. He needs to win. That being said, you talk about legacy. He could be the best quarterback of Eagles history. Nick Sirianni wins. What does it make him?
Best coach in
his legacy.
Nick, first of all, I'm gonna throw this out to you. And Connor said it to me yesterday because I asked him this question. Basically, if they win, is Nick the best coach? He said there's an argument he's the best coach already. For all his time here, for all of Andy's time here, Andy had 1 Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah.
Nixon 2 in 3 years and 4 total years. Been in the playoffs every year. There's already an argument to be made for both. They go out, they win, they get the 2nd trophy in the franchise's history. They stop a 3-peat. Yeah, it's not a question.
If Saquon, now let me ask you this: if they go out here, Saquon wins, Super Bowl MVP, they get the W. First season in Philadelphia. It's the
greatest acquisition in probably NFL history. Like in totality, like not just came here, got a ring, but what he did this season, top it off with a ring. It's the greatest acquisition in NFL history.
Yeah.
Adds to his legacy. I mean, they went on Sunday, and whether it has anything to do with him or not, like Saquon Barkley could legitimately have 38 yards on Sunday, and it'll still be one of the greatest running back seasons ever. But if he goes out and runs for 115 plus yards and scores, and the Eagles win a Super Bowl, it's the greatest season a running back has ever had. So it's huge for his legacy. I think my point about Jalen, though, bro, was like, because I know you have a few more guys you want to get to. It's the most important for Jalen. Because he's the only one that has questions. He's the only one that has
that's fair.
That has negative opinions about him. Brian, I see the my God comment. Please,
because
I'm waiting for the next comment to come in on what.
I think he might have been talking to Joe Quinn on the.
Okay.
Talking about that
the Berg spy.
Thing. Yeah, they're still arguing about that. I think with Jalen, to your point. Versus Sirianni, for example, even if the Eagles win this Super Bowl, Sirianni isn't going to get the credit from the national media.
No.
He gets the records. He gets these awesome, regular season records every year. Not even in finalists for head NFL Coach of the Year. Like Sirianni, it doesn't matter if they win. He's not going to get the credit nationally. But it can change the storyline for Jalen Hurts. And to your point, I don't need to get into any other guys because he is the biggest storyline. His legacy is on the line in this game. You could go down the list. AJ Brown's the
It's big for a lot of guys, man.
It's huge for everybody. It's a Super Bowl. It's the
no. I know you're right. It's huge for everybody involved, but it's like there are a couple more guys, right? Like
Lane.
you talk about Smitty, right? Like just being a winner throughout, like Heisman, national
Every
championship.
level.
I think if he wins, he's the first to do that. By the way, if they win the Super Bowl, Devontae Smith is the first guy to win a Heisman, win a national championship, and win a Super Bowl.
So he has an argument.
AJ Brown being, moving on from Tennessee. He's had questions about, his character, his behavior, being a teammate, friend, whatever the case may be. If he comes here, think about that. If AJ Brown comes to Philadelphia 3 years ago now, and in 2 of his 3 years, they go to a Super Bowl and win one. That's another one of the greatest acquisitions of all time.
Yeah, especially with what you gave up for.
Darius Slay's career is coming to an end. If Darius Slay gets a ring at the end of his career, it's huge.
Is he our best corner ever?
Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean,
as a rookies,
year 1, come in and elevate this defense to number 1 and win a Super Bowl. There's so many. Jalen Carter. There's so, obviously it's huge for every single person involved in the organization, but storyline-wise, resume-wise, there's a lot that goes into this one when it comes to the Eagles, man.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, man. But
Brian, I do feel that we got to get it done. We have to get it done. I can't deal with another.
No consolation prizes in this one, man. The other one the other one did hurt. I'm not trying to downplay how much that loss in the Super Bowl hurt to the Chiefs, but in that moment, it was Patrick Mahomes that you take the L to with Jalen at a very young stage in his career. He went out there, he balled, right? We were able to have an exciting game, right? The defense didn't necessarily show up.
That's an understatement.
To say the least. But you could throw excuses out there is what I'm trying to say. There were maybe excuses you could throw out there, even with as talented.
Yeah, I mean, Kadarius Toney return a punt into Eagles territory late in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, things happen in that ball game. That should not and cannot happen in this go around.
It did feel like there were a lot of buts and ifs out of that Super Bowl performance and that loss. And maybe it's
Scotty, if we're being honest, bro, there's one of the biggest. There's one of the biggest ifs because it was in a hype video on TikTok I was scrolling through earlier, and it started out with the pass interference call on Bradbury 2 years ago. And, you kind of forget in the, looking back, oh, that was towards the end of the game. There was 1 minute and 48 seconds left when that flag hit the ground.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking about what the Eagles and Jalen Hurts were doing offensively. You don't throw that ticky-tack kind of flag in that moment. Yeah. They kick a field goal there because that was 3rd down. It was going to 4th down. They make it. They're up 3. Jalen Hurts gets the ball with 1 minute and 48. And then, but, that doesn't mean he's going to. Yeah, they still might lose the game.
Yeah.
But they have an opportunity.
And we were up double digits in that game.
I believe we were up 10 2 times in this game.
So it hurts. It's a Super Bowl loss. It fucking hurts. But what I'm trying to say is that this one will hurt beyond belief. And I'm going to have concerns moving forward, not about this team and how good they are, but it's going to say something about how good the Kansas City Chiefs are. That's what it will be. If they're able to take down this Philadelphia Eagles roster, how the fuck do we get better than what we were this season?
Yeah, I know. It is.
Sure, maybe we go out and get Myles Garrett, right? How the fuck does this team get better with the way Jalen Carter, Zach Bond, and there is ways they can get better, right? Coop, Quinyon, Jalen Carter, Nolan, they all can get better next season than what they were this year.
Right.
But you know how it goes, man. Things have to align perfectly, and it feels like it has this season for this roster. Got to go out there and get it done, man.
I agree because I know we've talked about it over the last week and a half. We've talked about it all season.
It's going to fucking hurt.
This team is so much better than 22. I know we did the comparisons. Yeah. I brought it up yesterday. And we're blessed. This is our 3rd Super Bowl appearance in 7 or 8 years. Not many teams get to experience that, right? Just to be there.
Yeah.
If we're being honest, we've gotten 0 help from our defense in either game.
Yeah.
Tom Brady quite literally had the greatest statistical numbers a quarterback has ever had in a Super Bowl. He threw over 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. They never punted. Brandon Graham gets a strip sack. We know how it ends, right? They never punted. Last Super Bowl, we gave up 38 points. The Chiefs never punted.
Yeah.
We have not watched. We're sitting here talking about Cooper DeJean or Britton Covey returning punts. We have not watched the Eagles return a punt.
Just make them punt first.
So that's the difference, right? I asked this to start yesterday's conversation. It's Saquon Barkley, Saquon Barkley, Saquon Barkley. Yes, there's no doubt about that. The defense is the biggest difference maker from 2022's matchup to this matchup for me. You had the line. You had the numbers. Hassan Reddick was great. TJ Edwards was very good. Slay and Bradbury had all pro type of years. CJ Gardner-Johnson was here at that time as well. You had guys. They had good years. At the end of the day, you had an elite pass rush throughout the season that did not produce, that covered up bad secondary play.
Yeah.
And then it got exposed. You don't have that issue right now. You're facing an older Patrick Mahomes, an older Travis Kelce. The trajectories of which these two teams are going right now, man, if Martian was here, I'm ready to line that shit up.
Yeah, where's Martian at? Bringing the energy. All that being said, I appreciate all the comments today, guys. Joe Quinn, I think I've seen Joe Quinn here.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button, please. Help yourselves out. We're live
definitely
multiple times throughout the week. We'll be live on Sunday, probably Sunday morning, early afternoon. I would say late morning, talking about this game.
D-Rab is coming up from Florida, man. He's coming up from Florida tomorrow afternoon, so he's going to be over at the crib. We're gonna be linking up this weekend. We're gonna have to have a beer or two, Dylan. So let's all prepare for that.
Yes,
but
sir.
yeah, we're getting together, man. This is a party. This is a celebration. Appreciate these comments as well flowing in towards the end here. Yeah, I do agree. Like, we don't even need to talk about a loss or the possibility of losing, because they're going to go out, they're going to win this game on Sunday. They're going to be the next Super Bowl champions, and we're going to be having a fucking party next week. We're going to be having a big-ass fucking party in the city of Philadelphia next week. These players will finally get to see what it feels like to be champions in the city of Philadelphia, the best place you could ever become a champion. Because you will be rewarded.
It's just it's so weird though. It's weird, man, ain't it? Like, just the dynamics of it all. Like, we only have one Super Bowl ring ever, and it was against the greatest quarterback and head coach of all time. And the previous Super Bowl we were in before was against them, and we lost by 3.
Yeah.
And then our second Super Bowl, our last Super Bowl loss was against the next probable best quarterback and head coach duo of all time, and we lost by 3. And our next Super Bowl, we're seeing them again. So it's very weird how some things line up. The number, I forgot to throw this number to you. I'll send you. It was either on Twitter or TikTok. I'll find it. I'll get it to you. We'll put it out there. But it's from a betting perspective. It's not an Eagles fan or Chiefs fan. It's just a guy analyzing the game. And he dug this little number up. Okay. In the last 9 or 10, I think it's in the last 10 matchups in which this has happened since like the 2010 or maybe slightly before. In which one of the teams has a bye and the other doesn't. So like the Chiefs had a bye this year, the Eagles don't. In the last 10 matchups that has occurred, the team with the bye is 0-9 against the spread. Now that's against the spread, but the spread's 1. So at that point, you're talking about the game.
Yeah.
Like, because it's like there were Super Bowls where it was 4.5, they're 0-9 against spread. Maybe they won outright, but they didn't cover the spread. That's what the 1 is.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. The 9 are straight up losses. The 1 is won the game but didn't cover the spread. So only one time in the last 10 matchups in which a team has had a bye going in the Super Bowl and the other team is not. The team with the bye is 0-9-1 in those matchups. So just sprinkle that little number out to you.
Little number of hope.
Yeah. Whatever these analytics, like, it is funny. Like, whatever these analytics mean, I have ESPN pulled up next to me. The Chiefs are, a point favorite now. It slid from 1.5 to 1, basically an even game. But then right underneath, their matchup predictor, based on their analytics, has the Eagles at 56.1% and the Chiefs at 43.9% to win the game. I don't know how you're promoting one team to be the betting favorite, but then, so that's weird to me. But
It is completely odd.
Let
But
me plug in my laptop real quick.
actually love it. Love it for the betting purposes.
I was going to say we got to wrap up, but we do have something else to talk about just for a minute or two if you want to.
Yeah, we can get it in.
That's the team on my hoodie. And I know. We got Joaquin in here.
What are your thoughts?
What do we got? What is it? The 843 Eagles? Yeah, the 843 Philly fan. We appreciate you. I don't know. Oh, I got you. My bad. Yeah, just Sixers, man. Josh Harris, sell the team. Like I get it, right? Like everything you're doing is potentially opening up a lane to bring back Yabusele.
Yeah.
In the offseason. Oh, just what a disaster. Like what an absolute disaster. And look, I think we all feel and know that this season is done. They're 21-29 at this point, or 20-29.
Yeah.
When I last checked before they beat the Mavericks, which that's a win, they were one game out of the play-in, which I know, like, trust me, like I'm not suggesting anything crazy, but like you're a game out of a potential playoff spot. Joel Embiid just made his return. Paul George just made his return, who you paid a lot of money to. Tyrese Maxey's dropping 30 every night. You have these three grouped together that you're trying to keep together for the foreseeable future. I just don't understand how you sign off on punting on the season. If you didn't punt on last season and you rushed Joel back and shaved his fucking meniscus down so he could come back for a first round exit without a third star and Tobias Harris was still here, you didn't punt on that year. And you were a play-in team that last year, but you're going to punt on this year? Like, and I get, like, we should, like, I know I'm not debating. I'm not trying to sit here and say that they have this, I don't know. I just, I'm checked out on this team right now. Obviously you have the Eagles, but they're doing everything to keep me checked out.
You're spot on. And I've seen a lot of people trying to work their head around, the moves that the Sixers made and try to spin it into somewhat positive light.
Yeah, please stop doing that.
Maybe like getting Jared Butler for Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson did look washed. Like maybe it is like better, sure, right? Maybe to your point, you do get to extend Yabusele in the offseason and you get to convert Justin Edwards' contract.
Yeah, and the Quentin Grimes edition, I don't hate.
The big, exactly, right? Like in theory, Quentin Grimes could be a better fit starting next to Maxey than Caleb Martin. Like in theory, it could work, but the big red flag for me is that you just signed Caleb Martin this offseason. And you're already shipping him out. You're already calling around the league, maybe potentially moving Paul George. And it just shows how asinine the decisions were. I supported them. I was asinine myself.
So did I.
But they made the decisions and they're already walking them back. That was crazy to me.
Yeah, and look, the Caleb Martin was not working out this year, the first half of this year. Like, I get it. But I texted you, like, we waited so long for a Caleb Martin type of player here next to Joel and in this lineup. And then you got him, like you got him himself. And it's not working great. But then you watch the full team go into Boston on Christmas Day. And you just get a glimpse of what they could look like at full strength and what he brings to the table against the Celtics and everything. And then he's the first guy you ship off. Paul George. And I got to say, man, but what did he score last night?
Yeah, I'm off him.
What did he score? 9
I'm
points.
off him. Maxey looks so fed up, bro. Like,
and then like the 2 hours after a game, here's the thumbnail for Podcast P. I get it, brother. You got other business ventures. You got other responsibilities.
I can't stand that shit. I can't.
But I mean, Paul George reacts to the Luka Doncic trade, and it's him like this on the fucking thumbnail. You just scored 9 points.
Brother, and the thing is, I knew that if they did go into a losing season, that shit would get on my fucking nerves. I didn't expect them to have a losing record at this point in the year.
Correct.
It's like, just read the fucking room, dude. You need to get in the practice facility and get some fucking shots up. My man was sitting out with a pinky injury, man. I brought it up several times on this show. What doesn't that say enough about you? Like, honestly, tape your fucking pinky to your ring finger and get the fuck over it. But yeah, I'm honestly off Paul George, man.
Landon Dickerson just said it would take an ambulance and a stretcher to get him out of the Super Bowl. And Paul George is missing games with not like a broken pinky, a torn ligament in his hand or pinky, a sprained pinky. Are you fucking kidding me?
And the other thing that I did see last night when I was watching them play, Joel Embiid on the bench, he'll come over, and I don't know if he was like telling a joke to Maxey at the end, like towards the end of the game, or if he was like giving him criticism or what.
Oh boy!
But Tyrese Maxey made this face like almost like from my like just me reading his face and his reaction. To me, it said, "Get the fuck out of my face unless you're gonna step on the court and play." That's my read on the facial reaction, the response. I can't confirm anything that was said amongst the two. I didn't hear anything about it after the game.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if I was Maxey, I would get tired of it. Like, stop coaching me from the bench.
Like, I heard Joel's comments, and his first game back, he drops a triple-double, hits the game winner. Like, looks great. Him and Maxey looks great. I get it.
Yeah.
And like it's great. He can't. It's just it's always the timing of what this team and he does wrong. You know you can't play on a back-to-back.
Yeah.
And you schedule your return for the first half of a back-to-back.
Yeah.
Immediately. You went from a triple-double game winner, let's go, immediately sucked the momentum back out of the room because 20 minutes later you were listed as out for the next night. It's the timing and optics of everything they do. If you were going to come back on this back-to-back, just come back last night against the Heat. Then you got a day or two off, and then, let's see how and then you're playing, right? Like, that's what we're trying to get into.
Consecutive games in. Yeah.
You immediately suck the energy right back out of everybody because, Joel's not playing in the next game.
Yeah.
Why do they continuously do this?
And we have another case of Tobias Harris and Paul George. It might fucking be worse.
It's getting bad, bro. It's bad. Listen, there's been
It's not worse. I'm not going to go that far. Yeah. It's not worse. He's a lot smoother of a player when he is on. But dude, you're approaching the territory which says enough. Like,
and here's the thing. There's been highs this year. There's been moments Paul scored 30s, 26, 28. He's hit 6 threes. The vision's there. He's missed time. Joel's missed time. They have to, like, I get it, brother. But okay, there you go again, right? You've both been out for an extended period of time. Joel makes his return against Dallas. Paul George makes his return against the. You two need to play basketball together.
Right.
And then the deadline comes and you're shaving money. You're bringing in second round picks.
Getting under the tax.
You're getting under the apron. You're punting.
But we can run it back with Paul George and another year older.
Scotty, my whole point is this, man.
Embiid, another year older.
No, my whole point is this. Joel Embiid shouldn't play another second of basketball this year.
Yeah.
What's the point? You just told me you don't care about the rest of the season.
Yeah.
So why is he playing the rest of the season?
Makes zero sense.
But to D-Rab's
point, I would, man. If I could trade Embiid and know that I could get Cooper Flag, man, it's Duke bias all the way.
Yeah.
I might fucking do it.
That's the other point. D-Rab. It's like they're not going to be bad enough at the end of the year to have like a top 10 pick or anything. They're going to probably be in the low teens, somewhere around there.
Max will win you a few games here and there.
Right, and Joel's going to play more and win you a few. Like, they're going to finish with over 30-some wins, right? It's not going to be good enough to have a high draft pick and be in that lottery section, really. Maybe they're the 10 seed and they're a play, but here's my thing. I understand, to wrap up, I understand it's the play-in. Even if it's the 10 seed, it's like, wow, dude, we are, this is bad, right? But my point is, if Joel's going to continue to play this year and Paul George is going to continue to play this year, and the vision at the end of the year is there of Joel, Maxey, and PG and these role players, right? Don't you just want to get in then? Like, not me, but I'm saying as an organization. Yeah. If this was your vision where you put this big three together,
you would think.
You would be confident in any playoff matchup if this was your vision for the future. You should be confident whether it's against the Knicks, the Cavs, whoever it is. This was your plan. So if you're the 7 seed or 8 seed come playoff time, it shouldn't matter because this is what you put together. And you're punting as you're a game out of having an opportunity to do that?
Yeah.
Whatever, man. Whatever. So
Nick Nurse looks like he's out the door, man. Like he just looks so frustrated overall. Like he's almost like trying to get himself fired or something, man. Yeah. But yeah, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll be talking birds.
Yeah, we'll be on here. We'll be on here Sunday morning. Might see D-Rab over Scotty's shoulder in that room. We'll see what's going on.
Get it lit in here.
Like Joaquin said, guys, do yourself a favor. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. We keep adding a few. We keep adding a few every week, a few every day, every show. We're slowly climbing up, but we want to get to our first 200 and continue to climb it here. So subscribe, share it, friends, family, any Philly sports fans, any groups you might know of, send it out their way. For myself, for Scotty, go catch Scotty over on the Scotty Talks NBA and the Galaxy?
NBA to the Galaxy pod.
To the Galaxy.
Yes,
I was going to say go to the Galaxy. To the Galaxy.
Appreciate that.
Check them out in a few minutes. For myself, for Scotty, for DSM. Peace out, everybody.
See y'all Sunday.